Good evening and welcome to day 40. Wow. Pretty cool. We're in the fours. This morning, as I was laying in bed, the thought popped into my head that I should tell you where I'm from. I don't know why, so I guess I'll tell you where I'm from. Sometimes you just go with what pops in your head. All right. I was born in Ankara, Turkey. My parents lived in Istanbul, but there was an army base in Istanbul. So my mom drove, well, she might not have driven, but whoever drove her to the army base in Ankara. Because I guess, and I didn't realize this, well, I know it because of this story, but who knew, that it's considered American soil if you are born on an army base in a different country. So they made that effort so that I could be born on American soil, even though I was in Turkey. They lived there another 9 months after I was born, and then they moved to, my dad was transferred, he worked for Mobil Oil, and he was transferred to Libya. So I lived in Libya from age 1 to age 4. Okay, this is interesting. Some of you might have, this makes it really easy to remember how old I am, or was. I'm sorry, I'm still so wiped out. I got my energy back yesterday, but then I spent it all on stage last night, and so I've been kind of struggling today. So I'm a little spacey. But anyway, my age, the last digit of my age is the same as the last digit of the year. So, for example, from 1960 to 1964, age 1 to age 4, I lived in Libya. Then my dad was transferred to Paris, France, so we lived there from 1964 to 1968, and I was 4 to 8. And then he got transferred to Melbourne, Australia, and we lived there from 1968 to 1973. So I left when I was 13. And I wasn't happy about it because I loved Australia. It's still my favorite place on earth. Had lots of friends, and of course, a 13-year-old is not happy about being plucked out of everything that they love, their friends and their school and their, all that stuff. So I was pretty angry that I got plucked away from Australia at the age of 13, and then we moved to Dallas, Texas. And Mobil had moved their headquarters to Dallas, and my dad never got transferred again to anywhere. So he retired, still living in Dallas. And I lived in Dallas for 20 years. And then I moved to Colorado Springs, and I've lived here 28 years. So no wonder I want to move all the time. I think I've already talked about that. But I'm really grateful that I got to have a childhood of moving around. One of the speakers last night talked about how he lived in, I guess, Saudi Arabia in his childhood and moved even more than I did in his childhood. And he mentioned the fact that it really gives you a different perspective, and knowing that the world is so much bigger than, our town that we grew up in, or our state, or our country. There's a whole world out there. And sometimes we forget that because we get all in our own mindset and our own stuff. And I love to get on an airplane because I can look out the window down below and I see this vast land and little houses and little cars and mountains and clouds. And it just that alone changes the perspective. And you realize, oh yeah, it's not all about me. And it's not just this little tiny little area that I exist in. I actually exist in a much bigger place. And I think that's good for us to have a widened perspective, because we can get all stuck in our rut and think that our little cosmo is just this little tiny, tiny thing. And it's just not. There's so much out there. So the next time you feel like you're all stuck in your rut, either try and get on an airplane and get a new perspective, or just remember that there is a lot going on out there, and we're all part of it, whether we want to admit it or not. We're all part of it. And it's nice. It's nice to know that somewhere across the ocean, across the mountain, across the stream, there's somebody who probably feels exactly the way you do. And probably has the same struggles that you're having with their kids. Who knows? Anyway, it's all about perspective. Oh.